For the first time in history, union workers are on strike against the big three automakers.
Ped West facility remains closed today as more migrants are being processed, plus how shelter availability is impacting where they go.
Plus, San Diegans concerned about a strange cloud in the sky. So what was it?
It's part of our culture. It's part of our identity.
Tomorrow is Mexican Independence Day, the meaning behind El Grito.
A ridge of high pressure is going to help to warm our temperatures just a bit into the upcoming weekend, but then next week we're cooling down once again. It's 6 a.m. on Friday, September 15th, and you're up with CBS 8.
Mighty! Union!
Auto workers walking off the job at 3 U.S. assembly plants overnight, kicking off one of the biggest labor strikes to hit this country in years. This is happening right now at Ford, GM, and Stellantis assembly plants. The union is seeking up to a 40% raise. The companies are offering about half that. The union workers also want 32-hour work weeks and the return of pensions, which are non-starters for the car makers. The companies put out statements overnight expressing disappointment with the strike while vowing to continue working towards a fair agreement.
Take a look at this new video coming in from overnight. A driver crashing into the side of a house in Lemon Grove. It happened just after midnight in the 7100 block of Rosemary Lane. You can see here there wasn't much damage to the actual home, but firefighters say the crash severed the gas main. So it took SDG&E crews about 20 minutes to shut it off. The people living inside the home had to evacuate. We're also told some neighbors were asked to shelter in place. At least 2 people were taken to the hospital. The driver was arrested on suspicion of DUI. Thanks for joining us here on this Friday. It is 6 a.m. I'm Eric Connors.
And I'm Netta Irampur. We have a lot to cover here today. And this week, we have seen migrants being dropped off at transit centers throughout San Diego. This morning, we're learning the one reason is because the state of California is now reducing shelter beds for asylum seekers. CBS 8's Chris Groh live at the Ped West crossing, which remains closed this morning, with how much it's going to cost to house people and where they're being dropped off. Chris?
Yeah, good morning. So essentially, we've been trying to take that question that we've been getting from so many of our viewers. Where are a lot of these migrants going? So we used a lot of the experience that we learned from back when Title 42 ended. We also dug into the numbers because remember, the state of California does try to utilize some state funds to house many of these asylum seekers. So let's get into what it is that we discovered. So if you remember at the end of Title 42, we showed you that there was a hotel that was designated by the state as being able to be used by asylum seekers. That was in Mission Valley. There's another one in the Midway District. Well, we found out that this year alone, the California Department of Public Health paid $19 million to rent all of the rooms at that Midway Hotel and $28 million to rent out all the rooms in that Mission Valley Hotel. They then go ahead and also pay nonprofits to run them. Jewish Family Service gets $19 million a year to run that that facility in the Midway, and Catholic Charities about $18 million a year to administer their hotel shelter programs. Now, the reason why we've been seeing so many migrants actually dropped off at trolley stations is because we're actually seeing the capacity at these hotels beginning to get reached. They're only offering beds in those shelters to those who are vulnerable, like families, pregnant women, and migrants. And so a lot of single men are sort of being left out of that equation. You then have to factor in that starting on October 1st, there's going to be a lack of funding for these nonprofits. In fact, the CEO of Catholic Charities told us they're going to go from 1,600 room capacity at their 3 hotels that they operate to 800 because they are going to see a lack of funding that they equate to the issues that we're seeing here with the state budget deficit. They say that that is going to be to blame. So that's why we're seeing fewer shelter beds. That's why we see them being prioritized for those who they say are vulnerable. As for Ped West, still closed down today, still being used as a processing facility. We'll have to see if that's something that will continue moving forward or if it'll only be these 2 days. As soon as we receive word, we'll be sure to let you know. We know a lot of people inconvenienced by this, but please remember, Ped East still available for that to be used. Eric and Netta.
All right, Chris, doing a great job there covering this issue for us at the border. Take a look at this video here this morning. Chula Vista police looking for these men after a couple was attacked. It happened August 20th around 1 a.m. at 3rd Avenue and Center Street. Police say the victims had just left a bar when they were attacked. Police want to talk to the 3 men seen right here in this video. You're asked to call Crime Stoppers if you know anything. Also, check this out. This morning, we now know what was seen across San Diego skies that confused many people, this giant streak. We got a lot of calls last night, people reporting this strange cloud or streak. Turns out it was due to a rocket launch out of Vandenberg Space Force Base. That cloud was actually a contrail of that rocket. It was part of a test to see how fast a rocket could be launched in response to a national security threat.
And now we have an answer. So many people wondering what that was. Cool design, though. All right, Hispanic Heritage Month begins today on the eve of Mexican Independence Day. So tonight, the Mexican consulate here in San Diego will host an El Grito celebration. CBS 8's Brian White showing us the historical significance of El Grito and its meaning to Mexican culture.
You'll see people coming together and being in the streets and really hanging out as a community, as a collective, because it was that kind of social movement.
The El Grito celebration calls homage to the cry for independence made by Father Miguel Hidalgo back in 1810. It was a call to the Mexican people to rise up against the Spaniards after 3 centuries of Spanish rule.
He called for the movement. He called for the fight for independence.
They marched forward and actually took over a series of major cities. And while they stopped short of the capital, Mexico City, the struggle for independence carried on, eventually coming to fruition in 1821. And to this day, celebrations of Mexican independence carry the same spirit of the original movement.
There's a lot of music, there's a lot of calls for justice, so you get a lot of people talking about what do we need to do this year. It's a moment where you get to affirm your independence, but you also get to reflect and kind of move forward in what you want today.
El Grito is celebrated all over the world and right here in San Diego.
It's part of our culture. It's part of our identity.
Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez is the Consul General of Mexico in San Diego. He says celebrating El Día de la Independencia is a way to stay connected to Mexican heritage.
It's an opportunity as well to help our kids, particularly those who were born here, to strengthen their pride to their culture.
At tonight's celebration outside the Mexican consulate on India Street, Gutierrez will step onto the balcony outside his office to recreate the call, Viva Mexico, the same ceremonial call performed by the President of Mexico and ambassadors around the world.
I call 3 times Viva Mexico, Viva Mexico, Viva Mexico, and just like it happens at the Zócalo, I do this with the flag and then I rang the bell.
Gutierrez has been Consul General here in San Diego for 4 years, and for him, doing this ceremony is an incredible honor.
Every time I give it, I feel my knees doing like trembling because it's very emotional, and after it happens, you are like very excited. I come down with the people, and everybody's happy. This is a family celebration.
I'm Brian White for CBS 8.
Wow.
When your knees are shaking, that means you're doing something important, right?
Of course. But it's great that Brian showed us the angle and that view that he
Yes.
sees when he's doing
We're gonna
it.
do that tonight. Yep. There will be other Mexican Independence Day celebrations around town as well. We want to tell you about.
Plenty of them. Yeah, there will be live performances at Balboa Park at 11 a.m. tomorrow. In Old Town, the Fiesta Patrias starts at 11 tomorrow at Old Town State Park. Escondido celebrating with a lowrider car show tomorrow at 2. They're also hosting a festival on Sunday at 11 a.m. and that'll be at the Grape Day Park. So good to see all these exciting events celebrating so many things that have to do with San Diego.
And the timing is great on this because had this all happened last weekend, it would be just sticky
Wouldn't
and
have
hot.
been as enjoyable.
This is going to be
Sweaty
just nice
mess.
and mild,
Yeah,
right?
and we've had, weekends. It's been the last several weekends where we've been pretty warm out
Right,
there. It's
right.
felt like summer. This is probably one of the first weekends where we really are feeling like fall. So we're going to keep in that same range as we head into next week. We'll cool down even more, actually. But for now, it's Friday, first off. Congratulations, made it to the end of the week. And temperatures are going to be in the upper 70s this afternoon, mid-70s closer to the coastline, low 80s across the mountains, 101 out there for the deserts. We do have cloud cover that's extending from your coast through your inland valleys. By the afternoon, we'll get plenty of sunshine. Those clouds will start to recede, and they're already starting to break apart. Doesn't seem like fog is much of an issue at all this morning, although there is the chance that over the course of the weekend we could run into some of those low clouds out there. Looking at the entirety of the bite from Santa Barbara all the way down through San Diego and even south of us in Mexico, we are all watching as that marine layer pushes on shore, and then between about 8 and 10 a.m. we'll watch those clouds all pull back, left with sunshine. So that's going to carry on over through the weekend. Your beach forecast for both Saturday and Sunday, 73 along the coastline on Saturday, 72 on Sunday. These temperatures are cooler than average. We would normally be in the upper 70s and even a couple low 80s out there. So do keep in mind that overnight, from the mid 60s to the afternoon highs in the 70s, when we're picking up on that cool sea breeze, when the clouds are with us, it can still feel a bit chilly out there. By the afternoon, though, should be very comfortable. PM sun is virtually guaranteed for the days moving forward. Between now and Thursday of next week, our temperatures remain cooler than average. By Friday of next week, so a full week from today, we'll start to see those temperatures climb just gradually, but there is no day over the next 10 days where we see temperatures peak above normal. They're going to stay below normal or at normal even into next weekend. So pretty comfortable, mild, fall-like stretch that we have on the way here. Let's take a look at what's going on as far as traffic goes. I want to take you to one situation that did just pop up here on our map. So we're zooming in to the downtown area and specifically into the South Bay, National City. Entry ramp to the 5 and exit ramp from the 5 northbound. Both of the northbound lane, the entry ramp and the exit ramp closed right now thanks to a car fire. That's at Civic Center Drive. So we just saw this pop up. You can see a little bit of orange from Chula Vista up into the National City area. That just means if you do get on the 5 at Civic Center Drive, you're likely going to have to find another entry ramp. Same with your exit. If you usually get off at Civic Center Drive, you may run into some delays in the area, have to take the following exit to get off of the 5 northbound. Let's take a look at border wait times. 80-minute wait at the San Ysidro Port of Entry, 60-minute wait at the Otay Mesa Port of Entry. Back to you.
Evan, thank you very much for that. And still ahead here, NASA releases new info about UFOs and weighs in on those alleged alien bodies that were displayed in Mexico.
Yeah, the ones that look like E.T., yeah. Plus, the cartel in Tijuana threatens singer Peso Pluma, what authorities are saying about his upcoming concert. And a close call as a giant gator chases some Girl Scouts.